Have you ever noticed how tiredness doesn't arrive at the end of the day? It wakes up with you. Even before your body moves, your mind is already racing. Invisible lists, silent worries, dialogues that only exist in your head. And then comes the question that no one can quite answer. If you slept, why do you still feel exhausted? There's something strange about that. Something that can't be explained simply by routine, work, or physical exertion. We've been taught to believe that tiredness is a consequence of a difficult life. But what about when life isn't so difficult? When, from the outside, everything seems normal, functional, under control. And yet, there's this constant, psychological, conscious, almost existential wear and tear. The body may even stop, but the mind keeps producing. Thoughts don't ask permission. They arise, insist, repeat. And each repetition consumes real energy. While the body tires from practical exertion, the mind is exhausted by excess of analysis, excess of anticipation, excess of interpretation. It lives projecting problems that haven't yet arrived, reliving past mistakes, creating imaginary dialogues that will never happen. And all this happens silently, without external noise, but with a profound inner impact. It's a weariness that doesn't show in the mirror, but weighs on the conscience. Perhaps what's tiring you out isn't what you do every day, but what your mind does with everything that happens. Overthinking has become a habit. Being on high alert has become the norm. Relaxing seems dangerous. The modern mind has been trained to never switch off, as if silence were a threat. Even when nothing is happening, it acts as if something is about to go wrong. And that's where the most uncomfortable belief-shattering lies. You may not be tired of life. You may be tired of the way you think about it, of the way your mind transforms the simple into burdensome, the neutral into a problem, the present into anxiety. You're not tired of what you do, you're tired of what you think. This idea is unsettling because it shifts the problem inward and completely changes the way you perceive rest. The body asks for a break, the mind, silence. But almost no one has been taught to listen to this. We learn to sleep, to stop, to distract ourselves, but we don't learn to be silent. And as long as this internal noise continues, any rest will be superficial, because the real wear and tear is not in external movement, but in this invisible activity that never stops. And before we talk about how to silence the mind, there's something even more important: understanding why it entered this state of constant alert. Even when life is quiet. Silencing the mind is not stopping life. It's important to say this right away because many people confuse these two things. There's a silent fear that if the mind slows down, something will go wrong, as if thinking less were synonymous with neglecting one's own existence. But what truly exhausts us isn't living, acting, or feeling. What drains us is this constant internal war, this endless dialogue within our heads, this invisible psychological effort to try to control everything all the time. And perhaps you've never stopped to realize how much of this fatigue comes precisely from there. True rest doesn't begin when the body lies down. It begins when the mind lets go. Sleeping more helps the body, but doesn't necessarily help the mind. How many times have you slept 8 hours and woken up feeling like you'd spent the whole night solving problems? This happens because the mind hasn't truly rested. It has simply changed scenery. The body has switched off, but the thoughts remain active, reorganizing fears, rehearsing futures, revisiting the past. Mental fatigue isn't just a response to sleep, it's a response to silence. There is something liberating, and at the same time disconcerting, in understanding that you don't control your thoughts. They arise on their own. They appear without warning. They disappear when they want. Trying to forcibly control them is like trying to hold water in your hands. The more you squeeze, the more escapes. And it is precisely in this attempt at control that many people exhaust themselves. But there is a subtle and profoundly transformative difference between controlling thoughts and not identifying with them. You don't need to control your mind to rest. You need to stop confusing yourself with everything it produces. Thoughts are not orders. They are not absolute truths. They are not you. They are mental events, fleeting phenomena. Philosophy and conscious practice have been talking about this for centuries, but modern life has stifled this understanding with noise, haste, and excessive stimulation, thinking has become identity. And when you believe that you are everything you think, any thought becomes a burden. The Zen idea is simple, almost minimalist, and precisely for that reason, so powerful. Thoughts are clouds. You are the sky. The clouds pass, change shape, sometimes darken the day, sometimes are light. The sky doesn't fight with them, it doesn't try to push them away, it doesn't judge them, it simply remains. When you begin to observe the mind in this way, something changes inside. The war begins to lose its power, not because the thoughts have disappeared, but because you have stopped fighting against them. And no, this isn't about becoming passive, detached, or indifferent to life. On the contrary, when the mind rests, presence increases. You begin to respond to life instead of reacting to thoughts. The psychological state becomes organized. Consciousness expands. The emotional state finds space to breathe. And all of this begins with something extremely simple, almost banal, but rarely practiced. Stopping for a few moments and observing. Deep breathing isn't a miracle technique, nor an empty self-help formula. It's a signal to the nervous system that there's no immediate threat. When you inhale mindfully and exhale attentively, the body understands that it can leave alert mode, and the mind gradually follows. It's not about trying to empty your head. It's about allowing thoughts to come and go without you needing to chase them. Observe the thought as one observes a scene passing by a window. Don't fight it. Don't try to expel it. Don't judge the fact that it's there. Judging is also thinking. Fighting is also thinking. Following is also thinking. Conscious rest begins when you observe without reacting. When you realize, this is just a thought, and not, this is me. This small shift changes everything. At first, it might seem strange. Your mind will try to pull you back into the old habit of control. It will create stories, criticisms, urgencies. This is normal. It has been trained this way for years. What's tiring isn't the thought itself arising, but the automatic engagement with it. The more you practice this silent observation, the more you realize that the mind can be active without consuming you. And this realization gives you back something precious: energy. When the mind begins to rest, even for brief moments, life becomes lighter. Not because the problems disappear, but because they cease to occupy all the inner space. Human experience gains depth. The present becomes more habitable. The psychological state shifts from survival mode to consciousness mode. And this doesn't happen all at once. It happens gradually, in micro moments of presence that accumulate. Perhaps now, as you listen to this, something is already making sense inside you. Perhaps you realize that you don't need to fix your entire life to feel less tired. Perhaps you just need to change your relationship with your own mind. And this opens up an important question that cannot be ignored. If true rest begins in inner silence, why is it so difficult to silence it? What exactly keeps this war going for so long?